This is my Amazon Kindle again, the black cover. I liked the way this started last time, so I thought I'd do it again. We're still in Chapter 2 of Myrtle's Ultimate Mystery, and I'm going to continue reading. Myrtle was contemplating using some of this true story that was going on in her life as part of the book she was supposed to be writing. So I'm going to continue with a few sentences that I had already read. It would be a great start for a plot. I decided I'd at least take off from it. This true story wouldn't work, though, unless Ruth had actually been murdered. I puckered my lips. Of course, I didn't want that to be true or to happen, even if the woman was 94 years old. From the sounds of her tattered cover escapades, she still had a good amount of life left in her. I sincerely hoped she was alive. A made-up murder would most certainly be preferable to a real one. Got that up there in the ozone? My choice is to find a healthy, happy Ruth, and I'll make up something around that. Of course, we don't always get our choices, but we should at least make them loud and clear. We'd see what developed. Had something to give the plot a jump start. Had something to give me the plot jump start I needed. But with the time it would take to research and pursue this case, there wouldn't be time left to write. I'd have to take good notes. Always did anyway. It was a habit an astrologer had to have. Leaning against the fridge, I looked around the kitchen. The cupboards were old and painted white. The doors didn't all close tightly because age had warped them. The countertop was a shellacked piece of wood an inch thick. The stove was an old relic, half coal, half electric. I loved it. A new bright white side-by-side double-door refrigerator brought the kitchen a quantum leap into the present. Thank the Sears payment plan for that. The house in its setting had reminded me of a cottage in France when I first saw it again after returning to my hometown from Portland. Even though I'd never been overseas, I had my private visions and dreams of other countries. White stucco with 3 different peaked slants on the roof, the house made an L shape around a brick patio with a very tall, old elm tree in the center. Vacant for 10 years, the college had been my uncle's childhood home. He had taken care of it since his mother had gone to live with her daughters in Denver. I had saved enough money from my astrology practice in Portland to buy the house from my uncle, relieving him of the necessity of traveling the 5 miles from Florence to Rockville a few times a week. The place was deathly quiet, wonderful for sleeping at night. My 2 cats and German Shepherd enjoyed the soothing silence as much as I. The calico is named Brilliance, the white alley cat McCloud, and the shepherd Guthrie. Brill, Mac, and Gus go everywhere with me. Of course, I love my yellow 320i BMW as much as the house. They have their favorite places crowding with me in the attic when it's not too hot up here. The cats like to doze on the countertop set on file cabinets I use for a desk. Gus likes to sleep on the carpet behind me, edged against the plastic mat under my chair. The 3 moochers follow me up and down the stairs, never knowing when I might give them something out of the fridge. But their favorite places are drive-up windows, at the bank and Burger King. All 3 of them will stoop as low as to drool over dog biscuits, and with all the gourmet delights I give them at home, too. Taking a long sip of icy cool lemonade, your favorite astrologer decided it was about time to return to the attic to draw up the charts. What she really wanted was a nap. But there'd barely be time in the morning for a hot shower and a quick toast and coffee routine before driving the 3 hours from Rockville to the Gemini. Liking my sleep, I don't often get up before 7. The chart work would take at least 3 hours. Wonder if all psychics sleep a lot. Writers have a reputation for being night owls. So do PIs. This psychic writer, AI, Astrological Investigator, is usually tucked in by 10 o'clock. With a good mystery, of course. As a bedspread comforter, I have a thick, heavy patchwork quilt with every color imaginable and every design conceivable, joined by hand-sewn stitchery. My Aunt Mary made it 3 decades ago. About that same time, Aunt Annie knitted a lovely afghan in varied shades of yellow, which I keep folded at the foot of the bed, in case cold sets in or in case a nap on top of the quilt strikes my fancy. If I didn't have to earn a living, I could do that right now. It's a good thing I like my work. Wonder why I like writing better than being an astrologer. Yawn. I wonder a lot for a curly, gray-haired 55-year-old. The psychic didn't know it yet, but her life would take a quantum leap in action in less than 24 hours. Tuesday, March 15th, would end with a last good night's sleep for quite some time, in that cozy, quaint, quiet cottage, in the queen-sized bed with its colorful patchwork quilt. That's the end of Chapter 2, and I think I'll just head on into Chapter 3. The Lady of the Plains, Gemini Spice. Cinnamon. It was coming from the aromatic herb tea, steaming throughout the restaurant. That was what I had noticed several years ago, the first time I had lunch at the Gemini. It was a special time out with a cousin who would soon be dying of cancer. Neither of us had accepted that fact then, but it was the last time I saw her in a normal social setting. How we take those for granted. Normal social settings. And simple pleasures. Like cinnamon tea. There are easier ways to die, and I for one think it's time we took charge of that, culturally. Dying isn't a talk about it process. Cousin Nellie had noticed the cinnamon. We had both ordered the herb tea responsible for the pleasant scent permeating the busy restaurant. She had paid for my lunch that day, since I was beyond and below flat broke. I wish I could pay her back. Show my appreciation. Maybe I can. The place wasn't as busy this 16th day of March as it had been with Nellie several years ago. Sipping steaming spiced tea, browsing the huge, heavy Gemini menu, I leaned my head against the floral design fabric cushion booth. Being one who agonizes over what to eat in a restaurant, I wanted to make my choice of entree before Jean arrived. Also, I was yawning from the prior evening's late brain stretching. Closing my eyes just for a second, I covered my face with the 2-foot menu so no one would notice my drowsing. The mad rush of the lunch crowd had more or less cleared, leaving scattered booths of diners with the luxury of a self-absorbing linger after a noon meal. No one would notice my lapse in consciousness, or any lapse in consciousness on my part, unless I started snoring. Eyes closed, breathing deeply and slowly, I reviewed the planetary map of the chart calculated last evening. Usually the pattern settles into my mind so that I can refer to it periodically. It still amazes me that I knew how to write astrological glyphs before I had seen them in this lifetime. Was I recalling rather than learning? Go figure. Okay, and I better do the same. I think we're getting 9 minutes 45. Better go. Next time.